from the basement of the beautiful Chrysler Building in New York City, where we offered to share our space with the Mandami grocery store. This is the Scammies. I'm your host, Michael Robertson. Each episode, I'm trying to make you a little bit smarter so you can spot the scams and the scammers and keep more of your own money. This is part 4 in the series, AI Murdered My Company. Maybe. I have to add the maybe part because we're still collecting information, but that's what will make it fun because I'm sharing the evidence with you and you can make up your own mind. This part is entitled Hunting for the X-File Ghost. You might want to watch previous episodes for full context, but to recap, a cybersecurity company named Koi, now owned by Palo Alto Networks, the largest cybersecurity company in the world, said my company was part of a Chinese cyber criminal organization. Really? According to their so-called Dark Spectre publication, Meeting TV, which they called The Zoom Stealer, was conspiring with the Chinese. They claimed to know this due to how a single software program operated. One extension bridged the gap, they trumpeted. This software was called Twitter X Video Downloader. And they said it communicated with Infinity New Tab core Shady Panda infrastructure. As you can see from the diagram, that software was called Twitter X Video Downloader. And they said it steals meeting data and sends that to the Chinese via something called Infinity New Tab. Shady Panda is the childish name they gave one of the 3 allegedly malicious campaigns, all run by the same Chinese group. More on that in a bit. But based on this report, Meeting TV was blocked worldwide, but nobody bothered to call us and confirm any details. The authors of the report didn't. None of the hundreds of security companies and news sites that ran the story, nobody bothered to verify the claims. So I decided to investigate Twitter X Video Downloader myself. Should be straightforward, since a list of all the bad software was at the bottom of the report. Unfortunately, they weren't listed by name, but by an ID, which is a long list of random characters. This made it a bit tricky because I had to match the IDs to the actual names. The report claimed there were 18 software programs, but only 17 were listed. It seemed like a concerning mistake in a field where technical accuracy is crucial. But my focus was on finding the one that was the linchpin, Twitter X Video Downloader. I cross-referenced the 17 IDs with actual names, expecting one to be Twitter X Video Downloader. But amazingly, none matched. This was baffling since this software wasn't just one of 17 on the list, it was the centerpiece of their claim. I was sure the name was correct because it was listed 3 times in the report as Twitter X Video Downloader, twice in text and once in the graphics you see here. There was a program with a similar name but peculiar, Twitter X Video Downloader. Note the single T. I'd never seen that name before. It was definitely not anything created by Meeting TV. Now I should stop here and make a point that an incorrect name in a cybersecurity report is a colossal mistake. It's like a district attorney charging someone with murder and getting the person's name wrong. You should rightfully question their competence. Nonetheless, I continued my investigation. I opened a copy of the software I located online and searched the source code for Infinity New Tab. This was the supposed tie to the Chinese cyber criminals. 0 results. Now I used to write code, but I haven't for decades. So I figured I must be missing something. I then gave the software to Grok AI and asked it to find any connection to Infinity New Tab. It said there was none. Baffling. I then took it to a more experienced developer who examined the code. He confirmed my earlier finding that there was no connection whatsoever to Infinity New Tab. Plus, he added a curious observation. The software appeared to be a copycat of a Meeting TV software program that runs on the Chrome web browser. Someone had copied the code and made minor changes to make it compatible with the Firefox web browser. And in the process, they gave it a new name, including misspelling Twitter to have a single T. Goofy, but nothing nefarious. This clearly wasn't the Twitter X video downloader they described, because it did not connect to Infinity New Tab, which, remember, that was the single link to the Chinese. This software was central to the report's narrative of one highly organized operation. I decided it was time to ask Koi, the company that authored and published the publication. I sent email to their CEO, Amit Asaraf, and CTO, Aydin Dardikman, requesting clarification and additional information regarding the extension which connected to Infinity New Tab. No response from either person. I know their email addresses were correct because we'd earlier exchanged messages. What the hell? If a cybersecurity company genuinely believed it was protecting the internet from malicious software and uncovered a criminal organization affecting millions of users, which that is what they said they did, you would expect a willingness to provide technical details to any and all inquiries. Didn't seem to be the case. But that left me wondering, where had the name Twitter X Video Downloader actually come from? Had to come from somewhere. One real possibility is that they relied on AI. Their domain name is koi.ai, and they tout AI expertise with security analysis, so that's a reasonable conclusion. I decided to ask AI if the Dark Spectre report was AI generated. So I pasted it into Grok. Grok said, verdict, 80 to 85% AI written. I then asked why, and it gave me a long list of reasons. Repetitive, dramatic construction. Quote, same infrastructure, same payload delivery technique, different marketplace, one operator. Formulaic contrast. This isn't three separate threat actors. This is one highly organized operation. A constant use of three-part rhetorical lists. This is organized. This is funded. This is strategic. How would they know all that? It repeated, it's not just X, but it's Y type of phrasing. There were frequent punchy fragments designed to manufacture drama, still active, still collecting. And there were speculative claims expanded into vivid scenarios without corresponding supporting evidence. For example, competitors purchasing access to strategy meetings and selling meeting links to the highest bidder. Now, when AI imagines falsities, they call it a hallucination. It may sound far-fetched since AI feels so smart when you use it, but remember that AI at its core is a prediction engine, guessing the next word or phrase. Those guesses can go wrong, especially with material it has not seen before. In cybersecurity circles, hallucinations are called false positives, which is a report that indicates a threat where none actually exists. Non-techies would call it a false alarm. Were there other clues in the Dark Spectre report pointing to AI use? I think so. Specifically, there was a list of wild claims. They claimed that the Chinese now had 2.2 million user data. They also claimed that one of our services was a front for the Chinese. And then curiously, remember how they claimed Twitter X Video Downloader, quote, communicated with Infinity New Tab, core Shady Panda infrastructure? Well, I already showed you how I couldn't find any software that communicated with Infinity New Tab on our servers. But what if software did? So what? What's Infinity New Tab? They called it core Shady Panda infrastructure. But so what? What does that mean exactly? What's the difference between core and non-core infrastructure? And more importantly, how exactly is it infrastructure for the Chinese cyber criminals? They offered no forensic evidence that Infinity New Tab is bad. No packet captures or source code, no evidence that it was working with the Chinese in any way. I must admit that for the first few times I read it, I just assumed Infinity New Tab was evil because, well, they said it was. I bet you did too. But maybe they are wrong about that, just like they were wrong that Twitter X Video Downloader existed. So I decided to research Infinity New Tab. I researched it, and here's what I found. Infinity New Tab is the homepage for two popular Chrome extensions that are offered in the Chrome Web Store, each with hundreds of thousands of users. How could the software be bad when it's available today in the Google Store? Here's the disturbing reality of the cybersecurity industry. The world is moving so fast and technology can be so complex. Humans are hardwired for fear of the unknown. Anytime a claim is made and sufficiently wrapped in technical language like core infrastructure, most are going to believe it without questioning. This assigns huge trust and therefore power with cybersecurity companies. But what if they get it wrong? What if they get fooled by AI? Well, when that happens, companies like ours can be murdered. Now back to the issue of Twitter X Video Downloader. It should be obvious to everyone that humans must double or even triple check claims in cybersecurity reports, especially when there's criminal allegations, as appeared in the Dark Spectre report accusing us of corporate espionage and being a front for the Chinese. If the software doesn't exist, such verification would be entirely impossible, and cybersecurity becomes creative writing with possible dire consequences. But why would Coy do that? And who exactly was Coy? Be sure and hit subscribe or follow, and I'll tell you what I discovered in the next episode entitled Born in the Shadows, the story of Coy. Thanks for watching.